As you may or may not know, I reviewed the first Knights game a little while ago, and despite this series being called Rant, I actually really liked it. On the plus side, it had an awesome story, great characters, plenty to do, and a world that just came alive. On the downside, the combat wasn't great, the ending was bland, so I went for the light side ending, and it was basically the ending to Episode 4 A New Hope. Seriously, if you want to know how Knights 1 ended on the light side, then just watch the ending to A New Hope, but just replace the word Death Star with the word Starforge. Even the cheesy scene where the heroes get back in time for handshakes and medals is in there, but anyway. Well, I had also bought a copy of Knights 2 on Steam at the same time as the first one, and now we get to see if this stands up alongside the previous installments. And naturally, the answer is no. Actually, this really depends on the person playing it. I have found that many people view this one completely differently. Some think it's better than the first one, some think it's still good but not as good as the first one, some think it's okay, some thinks it's rather dull, and some thinks that it's just a pile of crap. I'll probably set up shop in the dull section, because personalities attract. Not that it's a bad game or anything, but I just found it boring. See, the problem with the first game was its general gameplay. It was okay, but was uninteresting, and, though this is probably just me, I found that a turn-based combat based on Dungeons & Dragons rules of rolling a dice, albeit a theoretical dice, just didn't fit well here, and it did piss me off when my character was failing to hit a stationary object with his lightsaber that's right in front of him just because the game keeps rolling me snake eyes. But it was the game's plot and characters that made up for this, and thus all of the negative sides of the game were manageable. But it did occur to me whilst playing the first one. What would happen if the good story and characters were removed? Would I still enjoy the game? And I came to the conclusion that no, I'd probably not like it. Now this leads me on to Knights 2, and whilst I can't wholly say that I proved myself right, it does appear that I was on the right lines. In a nutshell, I'm not really getting into Knights 2 for one main reason. The actual gameplay is unchanged, whilst the story and characters have suffered. Again, my own opinion, some would disagree. The plot is just so slow to get going, and even by the halfway point, I was still unsure as to what we were fighting for. Yes, Knights 1 was also a little slow to get going, but by the time you left Taris, you know what you must do. Take down the Sith Empire along with Darth Malak, who's trying to conquer the galaxy, and to do this, you must follow Malak and Revan's footsteps in finding the star maps, which will lead you to the Starforge, which you need to destroy. In Knights 2, not a clue. It's 5 years later, you're a Jedi exile being kicked out for being too rad, the Jedi have been all but eliminated, and the Sith are on the rise. Huh. I thought everything was fine and dandy after the last game, but alright. So what must I do? You must first get off of Telos. Okay, I'm now off of Telos. What now? You must track down the remaining Jedi Council. Okay, for what purpose must I do this? Oh, hang on, I'll put the script here somewhere. That's the thing, the actual plot just doesn't show up until much later in the game. Most of it is spent going from one place to another, just dealing with stuff that happens there and then. Nar Shaddaa, for instance. There you must track down one of the Jedi. Again, you're not told why. But to do this, you need to get the Exchange's attention. How'd you do that? Well, by this point, the game was losing me, but I was determined to get through it by just bombing through the main mission. Just avoid all the side missions and we should be okay, I thought. Until the game told me that in order to get the Exchange's attention, I need to do like 6 side missions first. And that was the point where the green light on the plane came on, and I jumped out of this Knights 2 plane. It's not bad, but I don't feel like I'm a part of something. I feel more like a problem solver, or general handyman that keeps getting shot at for some reason, rather than a Jedi on a galaxy-saving quest. And the characters don't help either. In the previous Knights, everyone on board the Ebon Hawk had either a valid reason to be there, or served as a future plot device, and each character was strong in different areas, and weak in others. Mission, for example, was crap in combat, but could pretty much access any room and could hack any lock, making her a valuable team player. Also, taking Zalbar as an example, I didn't particularly like him as a character, mainly because there's only so much emotion you can get out of a Wookiee besides Aaah! But he was there because you saved his life, and now he wants to make that up to you as a matter of honour, and he was a good support character, being decent with a blaster which helps in combat. But in Knights 2, all of the characters are just sort of there. Yes, you can affect your influence with them, but I didn't feel that this was a game-changing element. Even the main character isn't that interesting this time round. It doesn't help that he or she is mute and has a face like they're trying not to laugh in the faces of everyone else, like they think they're all meatbags. And yet, despite all this, you still manage to attract all sorts of weirdos, like you're some sort of goddamn sexual Darth Tyrannosaurus. You bumble around from one place to another, picking up stragglers as you go, like you're the Jedi equivalent of the King of all Cosmos. But rarely does anyone have a reason to be there. Why is it, by the time you reach Nar Shaddaa, that Atton is still with you? From the first time you meet him to when you reach this planet, you manage to get him captured about 3 times and get shot down out of the sky twice, and he even comments on this quite regularly, and expresses his desire to bail on you the first chance he gets. But until you get off Telos, he has a reason to stick around because you might be his ticket out of here. But then by the time you do make it out, he just carries on hanging around. You do know you're free to f*** off now. Surprisingly though, he was my favourite character, but even then I didn't think much of him. He's basically a rip-off of Karth from the first game, but with a bit of Han Solo thrown in. But in comparison to everyone else, he was the only one to show much emotion. The Handmaiden was a strange one too. She just shows up on the Ebon Hawk and announces in a loud voice that, "I am here to spy on you." And the main character's first reaction is to shout back in an equally loud voice, "Welcome aboard!" Sure you don't want to run a background check on her first? You never know, mate. She might betray you later on when the game grandly reveals that she, I don't know, might be a spy. Then there's Bao-Dur, who decides to team up with you because he once served with you a while ago, but you don't remember. That's fucking awkward. Imagine a US soldier going up to President Eisenhower after the Second World War and wanting to move into the White House with him just because he may or may not have served under him. But I don't remember you. Sorry, what was that? I was too busy brushing my teeth with your toothbrush. Finally, I'd like to mention Kriya, who, and despite not having finished the game yet, I'll say it, is most likely a Sith, because every time I perform an act of kindness, or anything that you'd think the Jedi would give a Facebook like to, she gets straight on the psychic hotline, calls me up and chews my ear off for it. And strong in the Force is she, because she's able to manually take control of the plot and make it do stuff. Like for instance, one time, I gave a homeless guy some money, being a good little Jedi Christian that I am, but immediately afterwards, Kriya called up and started hurling shit at me. No, you don't give some random homeless guy some money. For all you know, he might be a complete and you'll need that money for saving the galaxy later on. Though not right now because the plot hasn't got to that point yet. Just for that, I'm going to make it so that this guy gets mugged, so that he ends up with nothing. That'll make you feel bad. See, if you wanted to help him out, you should have kicked him in the bollocks first and then nicked his wallet. That way the local thugs won't go near him because it's not worth it. Thus you're protecting him. And I started to wonder which side her toast is buttered. Her intentions and personality are kept in the dark, and I'm getting the impression that she's not going to shed any light on it anytime soon, which of course means that she's a lightsaber. But these characters were just not interesting me that much, and all of the Star Wars puns were starting to get me a bit hot under the collar, so I plodded on trying to find a reason to carry on. But in all honesty, I'm struggling here. I want to play it out of respect for the previous one, but also to enjoy another Star Wars game. I have heard that you shouldn't compare the two games together because number 2 is different, but if I were to do that, then I'd immediately stop playing, because respect for the first game is the only thing keeping me going here. And don't get me wrong, as Star Wars games go, then this is one of the better ones. That's only a testament to how many bad Star Wars games there are. But even if you remove it from the constantly expanding pile of mass that is the Star Wars franchise, this game is just not particularly good. There are some difficulty spikes here like you wouldn't believe, and I swear that the friendly AI has got worse. I don't mind a game's plot taking a little while to get going, but at least give me something interesting to do before then, instead of giving me a list of chores to do, such as sorting out everyone else's shit before you've even regained your own memory. And if we're playing as a Jedi, then where is my goddamn lightsaber? It made sense not to give one to us straight away in the first game, because you weren't a Jedi from the word go anyway. You only get one when you started your training, but I've been waddling around from planet to planet without one, but to make it even worse, one of the other Jedi was carrying it, dangling it in my face going, "Ooh, you want this? Well, tough titties, go get your own." And then the game goes, "Well, you can construct one yourself, you know, but we're not going to tell you how to do that." At this rate, I'll end up getting one right at the end of the game, which will be too late. In conclusion, this game isn't bad, and if you actually like the gameplay of the first game, then nothing has changed here. Now you immediately have access to Force powers and can upgrade them as you go like the first game, but the two main letdowns are the characters and the story. Though I have heard that the characters are better in this game, I must have missed that part because I'm not sensing a bond between them. It just feels like Knights of the Old Republic 2 just doesn't... Wait, isn't this game called Sith Lords? For a game with that title, it does seem to be short of a few Sith Lords. I've seen 2 in cutscenes, but it's still not clear as to how they're involved in the plot. Actually, I've just realised that was a stupid thing to say. For all I know, they are central to the plot and are the main characters. It's just the plot hasn't got round to including me yet. It's like the story is happening somewhere else, and I'm not invited to that party because they don't want to be associated with me, casting me out of this Star Wars bonanza. No wonder the game keeps referring to me as an exile.
Sometimes I think this life is killing me.